Today, we're going to talk about a really fascinating new approach to education in India, and it's all built around one super powerful idea: learning by doing. We're diving into this new activity book called Kaushal Bodh.
Think about it for a second. How did you really learn to ride a bike? I bet it wasn't by reading a manual, right? You got on, you wobbled, you probably fell a couple of times, and then you got right back on. That's because some of the most important skills we learn aren't from a textbook. They're from actually getting out there and trying.
And that exact idea, that hands-on experience, is the whole foundation for a brand new activity book for 6th graders in India. It's called Kaushal Bodh, and it is designed from the ground up to get students out of their chairs and engaged with the world.
So here's our plan. First, we'll look at what makes this a totally new kind of textbook. Then we'll get into the core philosophy behind it, the learning by doing part. After that, we'll see how it breaks down learning into 3 different types of work, check out the actual projects students are doing, and finally, wrap up with the really important skills and values this whole thing is meant to build.
All right, so first things first, what exactly is this book? Let's get the basic details down.
Okay, so at its heart, Kaushal Bodh is an activity book for 6th graders focused on vocational education. But, and this is important, it's not just some extra credit thing. It's a really key part of India's big new education policies. The whole goal here is to give young students a real, tangible taste of different kinds of work through hands-on projects. So you have to wonder, what's the big idea? I mean, why go to all the trouble of creating a book based entirely on projects instead of just, more theory and lectures? Well, the book itself actually gives us the answer, right in the notes for teachers, and it's about so much more than just learning a skill. Check out the 3 big goals here. Learning by doing, sure, but also developing vocational abilities. And this one is so important, promoting the dignity of labor. This isn't just about skills, it's about shaping mindsets.
And that phrase, dignity of labor, is absolutely central to this whole thing. It's this idea that all jobs have value and deserve respect, whether you're a farmer, a programmer, or a shopkeeper. The thinking is that by getting students to actually do different kinds of work, you instill this core value right from a young age.
So if you're going to expose kids to a wide range of work, how do you do that in a way that makes sense and isn't just total chaos? Well, the book uses this really simple, really clever framework that's built on 3 basic forms of work.
Basically, every single project in the book fits into one of 3 buckets. First, you've got work with life forms. So think gardening, taking care of animals, anything to do with living things. Second is working with machines and materials. That's all about using tools, working with wood, clay, fabric, you name it. And third is human services, which is all about interacting with and helping other people.
And the way they've set it up is that over the course of middle school, from grade 6 all the way to grade 8, every single student is going to get experience in all 3 of these areas. This makes sure that everyone gets a really broad, well-rounded view of all the different ways people can contribute to society. Okay, now for the really fun part. We've talked about the philosophy and the structure, but what do these projects actually look like? What are these 6th graders getting up to? Let's take a peek.
The book lays out 6 main projects for this grade, and you can totally see how they fit into those categories we just talked about, right? You've got the school kitchen garden, which is clearly life forms. Then there's maker skills and even animation, which fall under machines and materials. And then something like setting up a school museum or cooking without fire is a perfect example of human services.
And this is the spirit of the whole thing. It's about getting your hands dirty, whether that's with soil in a garden, some simple tools, or a few ingredients. It's active, it's engaging, and it's making kids think while they do.
So let's zoom in on one of these, like cooking without fire. Students aren't just, following a recipe for lemonade. They're learning about nutrition, about food safety, how to properly measure things. But then, and this is the best part, it all leads up to them organizing a food mela, which is like a food fair. So it goes from a simple class to a real-world lesson in planning, teamwork, and even a little bit of business.
Look, planting gardens and making lemonade is obviously fun, but what's the real educational payoff here? Why does this whole hands-on approach actually matter in the long run?
It matters because these projects are specifically designed to build the skills that kids actually need today. We're not just talking about the classics like communication and creativity. It's also about really practical stuff like green skills, digital skills, knowing how to use tools, and maybe most important of all, learning how to work together as a team to get something done.
At the end of the day, the goal is to break down that wall that sometimes exists between the classroom and the real world. It's about showing kids that the stuff they learn about in school actually connects to their everyday lives and to the world of work they'll eventually enter.
And that kind of leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. This is about so much more than a new curriculum. It's an attempt to raise a generation that's not only skilled and creative, but one that also has a genuine respect for all kinds of work. So what could our future look like if every single student learned the value of that work with their own two hands?